A few months ago, I started working night shifts at the hospital. I was excited but nervous. This old hospital was built in the 1970s, with white walls and flickering fluorescent lights. Generally, it was busy during the day. At night, though, it felt too quiet, like something was off. I hadn't felt the same since on my third night. I felt a chill as I passed room 214. The chart said it was empty, but I heard something. It sounded like someone whispering, maybe even crying for help. I thought I might be tired, but when I checked the room, it was empty. I felt off balance. The calls for help echoed in my head all night. Strange things kept happening over the next few shifts. Shadows appeared at the corners of my vision, but when I turned, nothing was there. Once, while in the pediatric ward, I heard laughter, actual, happy laughter. In that quiet, empty room, it felt like a ghost town suddenly came alive. I looked around, but there was no one there. It sent a shiver down my spine. Was it just my mind playing tricks? Some co-workers talked about a nurse named Lisa who transferred months before. They spoke about her like she was still there. It felt strange, but I didn't want to pry. Hospitals have their secrets, right? That Friday night, it got worse. I was alone in the break room around midnight. I stared at my cold dinner, trying to shake the strange feelings. I heard that laughter again, this time much closer. It made my heart race. I thought I should ignore it, but I couldn't help myself. I walked toward the sound, my heart pounding harder with each step. The laughter echoed through the hall, feeling wrong. I reached the doorway to the pediatric ward. My fingers trembled against the handle. I should have turned back, but I pushed the door open. The room looked empty. I felt a knot in my stomach. I really didn't know what to do. Then, I saw something shift behind a curtain. My breath caught. Was it my imagination again? I stepped inside, my pulse racing. That giggle returned, soft yet persistent, pulling me further into the darkness. I looked around, forcing myself to breathe. "Hello?" I whispered, hoping to hear an answer. Only silence greeted me. Confusion washed over me. I was alone, but somehow, I didn't feel alone. As I turned to leave, that laughter echoed again. It sounded close, right behind me. I spun around, but the room was empty. I felt a wave of fear wash over me. I stumbled backward, heart racing. I wanted to run but couldn't move. Then I saw a shadow dart across the wall, quick and fleeting. I must be losing my mind, I thought. But the laughter rang out again, bright and cheerful, filling the room as if someone was playing a cruel joke. I was frozen, caught between curiosity and terror that I didn't know what to do. Should I follow the laughter or run as far away as I could? Either way, the night shift had changed forever for me. The laughter rang out again, echoing off the sterile walls and wrapping around me like a cold embrace. I was paralyzed. My instincts screamed for me to leave, to run back to the safety of the break room, but curiosity clawed at me. I had to know. Taking a deep breath, I stepped further into the room. The curtains swayed slightly, stirred by an unseen breeze. I could feel the temperature drop, the air thickening around me. As I approached the curtain, I hesitated. What if I found something horrifying? Or worse, a memory of something I wasn't ready to face? I reached out and pulled the curtain aside. The bed was empty, impeccably made, as if it hadn't been used in days. I scanned the rest of the room. It felt so cold, not just in temperature, but in a way that made my skin crawl. I turned to leave, but something behind me caught my attention. A toy lay near the corner of the room, an old stuffed bear with its button eye missing. Instinctively, I remembered my little sister's old bear from years ago, how it soothed her when she was sick. I walked over, my heart rate quickening. As I bent down to pick up the bear, I heard that laughter again, ringing out like a bell. "It's not real," I whispered to myself as I clutched the toy tightly. Just then, something cold brushed against the back of my neck. I spun around. No one was there. I should have felt relieved, but my stomach dropped. The laughter faded into a haunting giggle. I sensed that something, or someone, was there, watching. I glanced at the door, knowing I had to leave, but a strange impulse urged me to linger. "What do you want?" I called out, my voice barely above a whisper. Silence. Just as I turned back to head toward the door, the bear slipped from my grasp. It landed on the floor with a soft thud, and in that instant, the lights flickered out, panic surged as I found myself in utter darkness. I fumbled along the wall, trying to find the exit, my heart racing. I felt a sudden rush of warmth behind me, and instinctively, I turned. "Hello?" My voice quivered. Then, without warning, the lights returned, but not like before. They flickered erratically, throwing shadows around the room that danced and circled like they were alive. I scanned the room again, my breath hitching. The laughter was gone, replaced by an uneasy whispering that filled the silence. I could not make out the words, but the tone was urgent, almost desperate. "Please, leave." A voice trembled in the air, faint yet distinct. I couldn't tell whether it was real or figments of my imagination, but it sent chills down my spine. I backed away toward the door, afraid to take my eyes off the shadows that loomed. Just as I reached for the handle, the voice returned, louder this time, "Help me." I didn't wait any longer. I turned and sprinted into the hall, my feet pounding against the floor, frantically glancing back. The giggles faded, but the weight of unseen eyes followed me, pulling me back toward the room that felt like a trap. I burst through the double doors, gasping for air, adrenaline surging. The hospital was still. Too still. That's when I saw it. A figure standing at the end of the hall, shrouded in darkness, watching me. My heart sank. I had no idea what I was facing, but I felt it deeply. Whatever it wasn't he going to let me go that easily. I froze, caught in that moment of uncertainty. The figure remained still, its outline barely defined against the dim light spilling from the exit sign overhead. My instincts screamed at me to run, but my legs felt like lead. I was trapped in a decision whether to call out or to retreat. "Is someone there?" My voice came out shaky, hanging in the air between us. The figure didn't move. It was as if I was facing a dark reflection, something that shouldn't exist in the real world. I took a cautious step forward, squinting, trying to make sense of the shadowy form. And then, it moved. Not toward me, but to the side, gliding along the wall as if it were part of it. My breath caught in my throat. I stumbled back, nearly colliding with a supply cart. I needed to get out of there. Fast, with a burst of determination, I turned on my heel and sprinted down the hallway, the sound of my footsteps echoing off the walls. I took a sharp left into the nearest break room, a small array of flickering lights illuminating the space. I felt a moment of safety here, but it was short-lived. The whispering returned, more insistent now, growing louder and more coherent. Help me, help me." It felt like it was in my mind, wrapping around my thoughts and squeezing. I pinched my arms to shake off the fear. Where was this coming from? I glanced around the room for a logical source. The walls were bare, and the small windows were covered with grime. Nothing suggested paranormal activity, but then again, everything felt off. "Stop it!" I shouted into the emptiness, hoping to drown the voice in my frustration. It only grew louder, now blending with the memory of laughter echoing from the empty room. The tension was tangible, thickening the air around me. Maybe I was losing my mind. I glanced at the clock on the wall. Time had not moved, the same second was stuck there, frozen. Suddenly, a loud crash jolted me back to reality. I rushed to the door, heart pounding, as I peeked outside to the hallway. Nothing. The figure, the laughter gone. And yet, that whisper lurked, persistent and chilling. Before I could fully process what I felt, my phone buzzed in my pocket. I fumbled to grab it, praying for something familiar. It was a text from my supervisor, asking if I had seen the new patient in room 203. I took a deep breath and felt an odd mix of relief and dread. I'll just check on them and leave this place, I thought. Turning back into the hallway, I took cautious steps, my thoughts racing. Who was the figure? Was it connected to the whispering? Or was I merely imagining it all? The hospital felt like a ticking time bomb of secrets ready to explode. As I approached room 203, I noticed the door was slightly ajar. I pushed it open, my heart thumping wildly. The room was empty, the bed made just like the last one I'd seen. A chill crawled up my spine, and my stomach twisted. That's when I noticed a small object on the floor. I leaned down to pick it up. It was a button, one single button, dark and dusty. Could it belong to the bear? Then I heard it, the laughter, directly behind me. I spun around, my heart in my throat. The laughter was bright, almost cheerful, but it cut through the silence like a knife. I expected to find someone behind me, but the room remained empty. Shadows danced in the corners, distorting my sense of reality. I clenched the button in my hand, feeling its rough edges press against my palm. The laughter faded, replaced by the whispering again. Help me! It was a plea that clawed at my insides, demanding attention. The mix of fear and confusion was overwhelming. I took a step forward, ready to leave room 203. But then I noticed something on the bed, a piece of paper. I hesitated, but curiosity pushed me forward. I reached for it, my fingers trembling. As I unfolded the note, the whispers grew in intensity. Please help! I tried to block it out, but the words on the paper demanded my focus. It read, Room 204 held her secret. I didn't understand. Who was her? My thoughts raced back to the figure in the hallway. Was this about her? The urgency of the whispering escalated. I turned toward the door, feeling an urgent need to know more. Without thinking, I stepped out into the hallway, the button still clenched in my fist. I hesitated at the entrance of room 204, just a few doors down. The number loomed over me like a dark omen. My hand hovered over the knob for a heartbeat before I twisted it open. The room was dim, the only light coming from the flickering fluorescent bulbs. I stepped inside, scanning for anything unusual. The bed was empty, the sheets rumpled as if someone had just been there. I felt a knot form in my stomach. Where was everyone? That's when something caught my eye in the corner. A small teddy bear, tattered and forlorn, sat on a chair. My breath hitched as I approached it, memories flooding back. The bear was identical to the one I had found in room 203. Before I could make sense of it, I heard a loud bang behind me, the door slamming shut. I whipped around, but I was alone. Panic set in. I grabbed at the door handle, but it wouldn't budge. I pushed and pulled, each attempt failing. The laughter revived, taunting me from the dark. Let me out! I shouted, my voice echoing. The whispers swirled around me, a chaotic chorus demanding to be heard. Help me! Help me! I was trapped, dread curled in my stomach as I turned back to the room, desperate for something to anchor my sanity. I needed answers, and this bear might be key. I reached out, touching its worn fur. Immediately, a flash of memories surged, images of a smiling girl played before my eyes, playing with the bear, laughing, then fading into shadows. I pulled my hand away, gasping. I realized the girl must have been the one in the whispers. But why did she need help? Before I could piece it all together, the lights went out, plunging me into darkness. The laughter and whispers amplified around me, and the weight of the room pressed in as I felt a presence cold and watching. Someone was there. And this time, I was not alone. The darkness swallowed the room, but I could feel the presence growing stronger. My heart pounded as I strained to hear something beyond the chaos of laughter and whispers. Was it just my imagination, or did I hear a soft breathing nearby? I stepped back slowly, my foot brushing against the teddy bear. The cold floor sent chills up my spine. I could barely see anything, but my instincts kicked in. I needed to find a light, something to cut through the shadows that I fumbled in my pockets, searching for my phone. The screen glowed dimly as I turned it on. The small light illuminated just enough to see the edges of the room. The walls were peeling, the furniture cloaked in dust. It felt abandoned, yet I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Then I saw it. A door on the opposite wall, slightly ajar. It was almost hidden in the dark, but the shadows seemed to beckon me toward it. The whispers grew louder, more desperate. I felt my breath hitch. Should I go? Should I stay? Help me echoed through the air again, more pleading than before. Instinctually, I took a step towards the door, desperation steering me. The closer I got, the more I felt the chill wrap around me like a shroud. I pushed the door open. It creaked loudly, but I pressed on, revealing a small closet space. The light from my phone bounced off something shiny in the corner. I knelt to get a better look, and my heart sank. It was a locket, tarnished and cold, buried in a pile of old clothes. I picked it up, feeling the weight of history in my hands. As I opened it, a picture of the girl and the teddy bear I had seen flashed back into my mind. There she was, smiling wide, her eyes bright. But the shadow that lurked behind her, a figure I couldn't quite make out, sent a shiver down my spine. "What happened to you?" I whispered, not really expecting an answer. Suddenly, the laughter erupted again, louder and more manic this time. I stumbled back, the locket slipping from my fingers and hitting the floor with a sharp clink. Then silence. The laughter stopped, and the atmosphere shifted. I could feel the air thickening, as if something dark was growing in the room. I turned to run back to the main area, but the door slammed shut. The noise echoed through the small space, a heavy finality that left no room for doubt. Now I was trapped with whatever presence haunted this room. My phone flickered, the light dimming dangerously low. Panic set in as I rattled the door handle, my desperation pushing me to scream. "Let me out. Please." The whispers intensified, swirling around me, drowning me in their urgency. But then, a low voice cut through it all. "You shouldn't have come here." I froze. The voice was chillingly familiar. I was no longer just a witness, I was part of the story. And this was only the beginning. The door shook in its frame as I slammed my shoulder against it. Panic flooded my veins. I could still hear that voice, a sinister echo drumming in my head. The darkness closed in, and the tiny light from my phone was fading fast. "Why won't it open?" My voice was a whisper, barely rising above the silence. I pressed my ear to the door, hoping to hear something, anything other than the pounding of my heart. The laughter wasn't gone, it had morphed into a low chuckle, teasing, taunting that I backed away from the door, searching for another way out. The closet was cramped, and each step felt heavy, as if the darkness was trying to drag me back. A noise caught my attention, a rustle behind me. I spun around, but there was nothing but old clothes and memories clinging to the air, that S when I saw it, or thought I did. A shadow flickered at the corner of my vision. I turned my phone towards it, the beam of light cutting through the dark. For a second, I thought I saw the outline of a little girl with the teddy bear. She stood there, just beyond the grip of the light, her eyes hollow. My breath caught in my throat. "Help me," she echoed, a chilling whine that felt like it penetrated my very soul. That I took a step back, dread pooling in my stomach. This was too much. I couldn't shake the feeling that she was trapped in here, just like me. I raised my phone to shine it directly at her, but she vanished. I could hear the whispers now, angry and mournful, swirling around me like a tempest. "Get out!" they yelled in a rush. Each word hit me like a wave. "Why?" I shouted back, feeling ridiculous for arguing with shadows. "What do you want?" But no answer came. Instead, the closet walls seemed to inch closer, the air dense with despair. I gripped the locket tightly, desperate for a grip on the past. Fumbling with it as I searched for an escape route, I noticed another detail, an inscription on the inside of the locket. "Always watch over me," it read, delicate lettering almost hidden by grime. My heart did a flip. Could this be connected to her? Before I could think, a sudden crash echoed from outside the closet. It was thunderous and chaotic, a violent clatter that sent my heart racing. The door rattled again, more forceful this time, and I braced myself against the wall. "Let me out!" I yelled, but another set of footsteps started approaching from the other side. They were heavy, deliberate. Fear rippled through me. Whoever or whatever was coming was not friendly. My phone blinked one last time before the screen went dark. I squeezed my eyes shut, listening to the footsteps grow closer. I knew I had to find a way out. But there was no logical way. No escape from this nightmare, and then, right in that moment of dread, the door swung open. Everything went dark. I don't know how long I was lost in the darkness. It felt like an eternity, a void where time slipped away. My senses screamed for something, anything. My lungs burned for air, but there was only silence. And then, the overwhelming smell of antiseptic hit me. I gasped, disoriented. When my vision finally adjusted, I found myself on the floor, sprawled out in what looked like a hospital room. The sterile white walls were blinding. I pushed myself upright, heart racing. Was this real? Everything felt off. The fluorescent lights flickered overhead, casting harsh shadows that danced across the walls. "Hello?" My voice echoed, uncertain. No one responded. I was alone again. I stood up slowly, feeling the coolness of the tiled floor beneath my socks. The room was empty except for a gurney and some medical supplies strewn about. I scanned for an exit, but the only door was shut tight. Panic clenched at my chest. Had I genuinely escaped the closet only to end up here? In the corner of the room, I noticed something, a small figure. My heart sank when I recognized the girl from the closet. She was standing by the gurney, clutching her teddy bear, her eyes fixated on me. "Help me," she whispered again, her voice softer this time, almost pleading. I took a hesitant step toward her, heart pounding. "How do I help you?" I asked, voice trembling. "Where are we?" Her shadowed face twisted with sorrow, and she pointed to the doorway. "Out there, it's not safe." I glanced back at the door, feeling dread pool in my stomach. Somehow, I knew she was right. The gurney creaked behind me, and I turned just in time to see a dark shape jerk away from it, retreating into the shadows. "Stay back!" I shouted, but the words felt small against the terrifying unknown. The girl's expression changed, turning frantic. "You have to go. Please." I wanted to run, but I couldn't abandon her. Time was running out. I took a deep breath and dashed to the door. It stood stubbornly closed, but there was no way I would be trapped again. My hands fumbled for the doorknob as I rattled it, desperation lending strength to my shaking fingers. Suddenly, I was pushed back into the room, falling against the tiles. A rush of cold air swept through as the door cracked open just a sliver. I caught a glimpse of a long, dark hallway, something shifting at the far end. My heart raced as I studied the figure. It was moving closer, too close. I scrambled to my feet. "I can't leave you!" I yelled at the girl, who didn't respond. She was gone, vanished like smoke. The hallway was filling with an unnatural darkness, creeping slowly toward me. I took a step back, knowing there was no choice left. I needed to get out. As I lunged for the door again, the whisper returned, echoing louder and more urgent. "Get out now!" Then, before I could reach it, the door slammed shut. The darkness rushed in, swallowing me whole. The darkness closed around me, and for a moment, I lost my sense of direction. I stumbled back, feeling my way against the cold, tiled walls. My breathing came in short gasps. Nothing could prepare me for this fear. I had to find a way out. There had to be a way out. As I steadied myself, I noticed faint sounds echoing through the tiles. They were soft at first, like whispers, but they grew louder, a chorus of murmurs swirling around me. Panic boiled over. "What do you want?" I shouted into the void. No answer. Just more whispers, and then silence. It settled in, thick and suffocating. I stopped and strained my ears, listening. Beneath the cutting silence, I could hear something else, a soft, rhythmic thumping. My stomach twisted as it began to synchronize with the frantic beating of my heart. I took a hesitant step forward, drawn toward the sound. Each footfall echoed, and as I crossed the small space, the walls felt closer, as if they were closing in. With each step, the thumping grew louder, clearer, revealing its source. Was it coming from beyond the door? I leaped toward it, pounding my fists against the cool surface. The noise intensified, a drumbeat urging me on. "Let me out!" I yelled, my voice shaking. I rattled the doorknob again and again, desperation pushing against my fear. Then, just as quickly as it started, the thumping halted. I froze. Was it gone? Had whatever was on the other side heard me? I pressed my ear against the heavy door, heart pounding in my ears. For a brief moment, the quiet felt almost peaceful. A fleeting thought crossed my mind. Maybe it was all in my head. Maybe I was just imagining the girl and the thumping noise, but then, I heard it, a soft scrape, like nails dragging against metal, coming from the bottom of the door. I stepped back, pulse racing. Shadows stretched beneath the narrow gap, moving. Dread coiled in my stomach, and I was forced to confront the truth. Something was out there, something that wanted me, needed me. Everything I had been through suddenly rushed back, the girl's pleading, the darkness creeping in. I turned away from the door and scanned the room, searching for anything I could use as a weapon or a way to escape. That's when I noticed a small window high on one wall, just above the gurney. Climbing might be my only option. My heart thundered as I made my way to it. I glanced back at the door once more. The scraping continued, more insistent now. I pushed the gurney closer to the wall, praying it would hold my weight. My fingers found the window frame, and I scrambled up, foot slipping as I struggled to balance. I could already feel a chill seeping in, the air outside beckoning me. Then, right before I managed to hoist myself up, the door exploded open. A figure filled the doorway, clad in a shadowy cloak that seemed to absorb the light. "Stay back!" I screamed, but the window was so close. With everything I had left, I made one final push, desperate to escape before it could reach me. My fingers clutched the window frame as I pulled myself up, heart racing, the figure lunging toward me. Just as I tumbled through the window, I felt something grab my ankle. Then everything went black. I woke up gasping, a cold sweat dripping down my back. I was on the ground, the taste of dirt and grass filling my mouth. My ribs ached, and a sharp pain shot through my ankle. I sat up, blinking at the blurry shapes around me. Where was I? I took a deep breath and looked around. I was outside, lying in what appeared to be a small, overgrown garden. The moonlight filtered through the leaves of trees, casting long shadows across the ground. I rubbed my eyes, forcing them open wider. Everything felt surreal. The last thing I remembered was the figure lunging toward me. I looked back at the window, fearing it might still be there. It wasn't. Just dark air and the distant sound of rustling leaves. I stood gingerly, testing my weight on my ankle. It throbbed but held. I had to get away from here, whatever that place was. I was sure it was safer outside. Panic settled in again. I scanned the perimeter for signs of life. All I saw were shadows and whispered breezes. I took a cautious step, and then another. That's when I heard it. A low, echoing voice floated through the trees, soft yet clear. "Help me." I froze, my heart racing anew. Was I imagining it? I strained to listen. There it was again, more insistent this time. "Help me." It came from further in the darkness, deeper into the garden. I hesitated. It felt wrong, like a trap, but something drew me toward it. I stepped carefully, every creak of twigs beneath my feet loud in the silence. As I moved closer, I began to make out a figure huddled near the edge of a rusted iron fence. It was a girl, just like the one I had seen before. She was crouched low, her face obscured by unkempt hair, but her eyes glinted in the dark. "You have to help me," she gasped, her voice strained. "They're coming for me." An icy chill ran down my spine. Who were they? I couldn't tell if it was fear or compassion that urged me forward. "Who's coming?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady, but instead of answering, she pointed toward an old, crumbling building at the far end of the garden. My heart sank as I looked in that direction. I could barely make out the shape, but its silhouette felt eerily familiar. The same jagged structure I had seen before in my nightmares. I turned back to her, desperate for more information. "What is going on? Please, tell me." "The door," she whispered. "The door to the basement. You have to close it before they." She choked on her words, and suddenly, her eyes widened with terror. I didn't need to see, the noise was enough. The thumping returned, louder this time, reverberating through the stillness like a war drum. I glanced over my shoulder. Something was moving among the shadows, closing in fast. I had to choose. Help the girl or run. Before I could think, the decision was made for me. A dark shape darted toward her, and she screamed. I sprinted the other way, dread pushing me forward as her cries echoed in my mind. That's when I saw it. The entrance to the building loomed before me, the door cracked open just enough to reveal a sliver of darkness. I rushed inside, my breath hitching in my throat as I stepped into the shadows. The pounding grew louder, a menacing rhythm that was unmistakably following me. I had no idea what waited in the basement, but I could feel it, the scent of something ancient and wrong thick in the air. My instincts screamed at me to leave, but curiosity held me captive. As I moved further in, I realized I was not alone. Someone or something was in the room with me. I stood frozen in the pitch black, feeling suffocated by the air thick with tension. The pounding noise shifted, coming to a halt, replaced by the unsettling silence that reverberated through the room. I strained to listen, my heart thudding in my ears. Maybe it decided to let me be. Or maybe it was lying in wait. My eyes adjusted slowly to the darkness, and I took a step forward, feeling my foot graze against something hard and cold. Panic surged, but I had no choice. The whispers began again, filled with an urgent plea, "You have to close the door," and I remembered the girl from the garden. The danger was right behind me, and I couldn't turn back. I scrambled toward the basement stairs I had seen a moment before. Shadows flickered across my path as I moved, as if something was shifting around me, watching. My fingers brushed against the wall, guiding me as the darkness swirled like a living entity. As I reached the stairs, I hesitated. The wooden slats creaked under my weight, and that took me back to those chilling moments in the hospital. The laughter of the girl echoed in my head with a haunting clarity, and I felt torn. Did I dare to confront what lay below, or should I escape while the opportunity lingered? Taking another breath, I pushed myself downward. As I descended, the air grew distinctly colder, laced with dampness that made my skin tingle. I reached the bottom step and found myself in a long, narrow corridor dimly lit by flickering bulbs. The walls were covered in peeling paint, shrouded in cobwebs. Whispers grew louder, almost deafening as I moved forward. Help us, the words churned my gut, and I fought the urge to turn back. Then, at the end of the hall, a wooden door caught my eye. It was the only thing that stood out against the shadows, an anomaly. My feet moved almost of their own accord toward it, as if pulled by an invisible force. The whispers became a chaotic choir of voices, their urgency blending into one desperate cry. I reached for the doorknob, met with an unexpected warmth that pulsed against my palm. It felt wrong. I swallowed hard, battling my racing thoughts. "Close it," I whispered, remembering the girl's frantic expression. With a trembling hand, I turned the knob. The door creaked open, revealing an expansive room filled with what looked like rows of old medical equipment and something else. Shapes shifted in the dim light, past figures parallel to my thoughts. I couldn't breathe. I stood at the entrance for a moment, paralyzed by fear. Was this where the girl had wanted me to go? Where was she now? My thoughts raced as old memories flickered before my eyes, hints of laughter mingling with cries for help. Just then, I heard the faint sound of a child's laughter trailing from the back of the room. I turned. It came and went like a breeze, drawing me closer into the shadows. "Help me please," a voice cried out, softer but filled with a clarity that reminded me too much of the girl. That I moved, inching cautiously forward, heartsick with dread. The figures stirred in the corners of my vision. Something like a chapel unfolded in front of me, awash in dim hues, yet an overwhelming presence radiated from every end. Whatever I sought lay in the heart of the room, and the air shimmered thickly with a heavy energy, drawing on every ounce of courage. I stepped inside. Suddenly, the door slammed behind me, the sound echoing like thunder through the emptiness. Instinctively, I whipped around, pressing my back against the wall. Shadows twisted and contorted, and the laughter transformed into agonizing screams that seemed to ripple through the air around me, igniting every nerve in my body. Then, slowly, the faces emerged from the dark, sorrowful eyes and hollow expressions. They were trapped, just like me. From the corner of my eye, I caught the silhouette of the girl. Only she didn't look the same. Her figure felt darker, less substantial, as if she were losing her grip on this existence. "What do I do?" I cried, my voice breaking. The room felt like it was closing in, layers of memories flooding my thoughts. "Tell me how to help you." "Find the door," she whispered, her visage fading. "Close it. It's right there." I screamed, thrusting my hand toward the door I had come in. But the shadows had come alive, swirling around me, forming a barrier that held me captive. I felt their weight crush me, every dying whisper clawing for my attention. How could I escape this nightmare? Suddenly, clarity struck. If I was to close the door, I needed to confront this darkness. Finding a spark of resolve, I stepped forward, embracing the shadows as best I could. "You don't control me," I shouted, bolstering my confidence. "You can't take me. I won't let you." The collective voices shrieked with discord, wavering in response to my defiance. I channeled my thoughts to the warmth of the room. However twisted it had become, I had to believe there was still good in it, all those souls lost. With a surge of determination, I raced toward the door, feeling an unseen force pressing against me. Just as I reached it, a cold hand grasped my wrist, pulling back with a furious strength. I grasped the knob with both hands, body shaking, summoning strength I didn't know I had to twist it closed. The shadows writhed and howled all around me, the air electric with conflict. The moment my fingers turned it back, the voices screamed in despair. The shadows buckled, twisting and contorting in a chaotic frenzy. The room erupted with light as I slammed the door shut, the noise of 1,000 voices enveloping me. For a split second, I stood there, breathless, before the darkness shattered, breaking away like glass, and I tumbled back. I found myself in the night garden, dazed and disoriented. The moon hung above me, shimmering through leaves, illuminating the clearing. I blinked and glanced around, expecting to see familiar faces. The girl was gone, and the laughter echoing from the farthest shadows was silent. But something felt different. The air shimmered with a faint warmth, as if a heavy weight had been lifted. The haunting was over, yet uncertainty still lingered. Would they be free now? Had I made the right choice? As I stood in that garden, some questions remained unanswered. The night still felt alive with secrets. All I knew was my heart still raced, a reminder of the darkness I had faced, and the shadows I'd left behind. I took a deep breath and moved away, knowing I had escaped, but that I would never forget. I made my way through the garden, leaving the echoes of the past behind, knowing that some things would always remain a mystery.